All right, guys, welcome back to Always Moving Forward. We've had a really great week of just bringing in people who have been just amazing resources for you guys, offering up services to help you guys get into the fields that you guys are looking to get into. So, um, with that said, I am excited about bringing my next guest on. Um, this is Jason Jones. Jason is a director, producer, and a writer. I've met Jason through IMDb. I kind of ran into a group of actors there, and it seems like they have like a really tight crew there. They had a lot of friends that we've been talking to. You've seen some on the show with Heather Fraley and Chris D. Roberts. And so today I have Jason Jones. So let's go ahead and bring Jason on. How's it going,
Hello.
Jason?
Good. How you doing? Thanks for having me.
I'm doing great, man. Thank you for being on the show today. So,
My pleasure.
yeah, I've heard a lot of good things about you. Heather was telling me that Heather Fraley told me that I need to get you on the show. That she's done some work with you, and she talked pretty highly of you. So, I reached out to you, and I'm glad you decided to come on. So,
Well, thank you.
and so you said this is your first live podcast. So
Oh yeah,
we'll try to take it easy on you.
yeah. Don't be too hard on me.
We'll break you in. So, all right, cool.
All
So,
right.
why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself? Where were you born and raised, and what was life like growing up for Jason?
Well, I was born and raised in Frankfort, Kentucky. I'm actually from Kentucky. I'm not
Okay.
originally from Florida. So I'm a Kentucky boy. I'm kind of a country boy, I guess. Um, Actually, I was adopted when I was 4 years old. So I'm from an adopted family. I was adopted when I was four. So but yeah, I was born and raised in Kentucky though. Um, had a great family. My adopted mother, she wasn't able to have children, so with that, they went through the adoption process and they found me. And between the ages of 2 and 4, I was in foster care, and like I said, from 1 to 2, I was with my birth mother. Uh, but no, I was very fortunate to have the adoptive parents that I did because they instilled a lot of my morals in me, and I'm blessed every day for to be raised the way I was.
Awesome.
Awesome.
So, now when you were growing up, because like now you're into doing film. Um, what kind of led up to that? As you were growing up.
Well, honestly, I didn't really even get into. I mean, I've always loved movies, but I never really thought about writing.
Right.
I just always loved movies. I used to have, like, even back in the day, is I'm sure you've seen the memes going around that you see people open their VHS holders, and we used to say this. So we say this was our Netflix, and we had those empty VHSs with three or four different movies on them. So I had tons of those. So I've always loved movies, but I didn't really get into wanting to write until actually I became an adult, and probably about 2 years out of high school is when I really took an interest in writing and developing my own stories. But I would always like role play a little bit and stuff when I was a kid, just making up different stories. We would build forts and play war and all that stuff. So I mean, I always had that little bit of creativity in me. So yeah, growing up as a kid, I didn't realize what I was developing, but I loved doing that back years ago.
Right.
Yeah.
It's kind of most of the people I've talked to who have gone into doing film, most of them start off writing, and then they say they started developing, a love for acting and some of the other things that they got into as far as like producing and directing. So,
Mhm.
when do you remember a point where um, that you decided, hey, I want to start directing films or producing films? Was there like, as you were growing up, did you like have a camera or, start?
No, the funny part is, like I said, I never did.
Mhm.
I dated a girl in New York that this when I was 21,
Right.
and she was writing. She always had a notebook and always writing scripts,
Right.
and mix that along with the love of movies that I had growing up. It just kind of clicked. It's like, oh wow, because the thing I like about writing a story is your paper is a blank white canvas. Like there's nothing on there whatsoever. There's no depth. There's no characters. There's no story. You create a world when you're writing. You create everything about a character, what their ticks are, how they speak, how they look, what they wear. You create an entire world when you're writing, and I get enthralled in that. I get just so into my character development that I love creating that world. You have control over what every aspect of this story does, and that just I fell in love with that. Like I said, when I was about 20 years old, and I never looked back after that.
So, do you remember like the pivotal moment where you start thinking, "Hey, this is something I want to do. That I have a passion for."
When I first started writing my first draft of my first script ever is when I knew. I said, "This is it. I love it."
Right.
I mean, there was no question. There was no trial and error. Um, when I first started writing, and I still to this day, I lost my very first script. Like as far as I had a binder for years, and in the process of moving over the last several years,
Right.
I've lost that. But that was my very first script
Wow.
that I hadn't written the first draft for, and I'm so aggravated that I lost it because I mean I'm still rewriting that script now, but
Right.
just the memento of having that handwritten script,
Right.
20 something years later,
Right.
just would have been amazing to have.
Yeah. I back when I was younger, I started writing scripts, and one of the things I did is, luckily, is that I mailed them to the um, copyright office. So to get them copyrighted and put them in the Library of Congress. That way, because I've lost mine, during moves and stuff too. But where I can actually go back and have them pull it from the Library of Congress.
Oh,
So
nice, nice.
yeah. So trust me, if I didn't do that, I'd have been lost as well.
Oh yeah, but it's
Yeah.
just the memory of having that handwritten
Yeah.
very first
Exactly.
script would have just been amazing to me. And I was
Right.
actually looking for it the other day, thinking about maybe my wife put it up or something. She said no. But I'm like, man,
Oh well.
it
Yeah.
was just a cup. It was just maybe 5 years ago, just 5 years ago that I remember seeing it last, and I don't know what
Uh,
happened to it since. Oh,
yeah.
it's so aggravating though.
Yeah. I can imagine. So now, so you started writing first, and then you started getting into directing and producing.
Well, no, actually, so the truth be told, I've just recently started making moves with this.
Okay.
So the last 20 years, I'll be honest with you, I got caught up in the details of thinking I had to be a master at the camera, thinking I had to be a
Mm.
master at lighting, thinking I had to know everything about every aspect of it and master that before I could jump into it.
Uh,
I
yeah.
let that defeat me for 20 something years. Um, and I mean, I was always watching videos on script writing, always watching videos on cameras, and I got lost in the technical side of the cameras and which camera's better, which camera should I buy, then what lenses were best, what lighting was best, what mic, and it got to where that, along with your everyday life getting in the way, it just consumed me so much to where it actually didn't allow me to take the jump. And it wasn't until actually just recently, I've got a friend of mine that Dale Miller, he actually is going to be on Obsession with me. The film I'm actually going to be filming this weekend, the short I'm going to be filming this weekend. But Dale Miller's great guy. He's actually a professional actor slash stunt guy that's done it for his whole career. He was actually on one of the not the last Halloween, but the Halloween before. He was a stuntman on that set, which I'm proud to say that. That's kind of cool that he was on a major motion picture. Um, so he was from Kentucky with me as well. He was a couple years ahead of me in school, and it just so happens that he bought a vacation house down here in Florida. So I went over to see him, and I was telling him, man, I want to do it. He said, Jason, he said, that's your problem. You're putting too much thought into it. There's a reason when you're watching credits at the end of a movie, it's a 5 minute process just to get through the credits. He said you can't do it alone, and that's what I was trying to do. I was trying to master everything on my own. Um, and thinking that I wasn't going to be able to jump in until I had all that mastered. But as simple as that statement was, he was like, Jason, you're your own worst enemy. He was like, you just need to reach out to people, find people that are good at this, have a general knowledge of it, naturally, to make sure it's right. Ever since he told me that, I was like, all right, good. So I've been in Facebook groups. I mean, I've reached out. I've got, Kat from Catastrophic Films has been a huge help to me. I love her to death. She's awesome. Anybody that she's 20, 21 now, she is a beast. And like I said, her name is Kat. It's Catastrophic Films. She actually is AD on every project I do. She helps produce with me. I'm learning a lot from her. I'll be honest with you, because she actually went to school for it, and teaming up with her has been a big help for me as well. But overall, though, like I said, it just I'm 45 years old, and I've just at the beginning of the year really started diving in and making headway for my lifelong dream of making movies.
So um, you said it, so you started the writing, and you decided that um, you wanted to start directing and producing, but you were hung up on the details. So
Yeah.
how was you able to kind of overcome that?
Like I said, Dale Miller.
Mhm.
Simple statement is you need to release some of the power. Like here's the thing.
Right,
So I run my own company. I've still got a company I run back in Kentucky, a roofing company.
right,
And for the longest time, I thought I had to do it on my own. It's not a
right,
power trip by any means. It's just thinking that I have to be involved in every aspect of it to make sure
right,
it's done right. Not that I'm doubting that somebody can't do it. It's
right,
just you feel like you have to master everything. So with my roofing company, I relinquished power. I hired some people to run my company back even now,
right,
to help run my company. And it's like you breathe a little bit more. So with that, and along with what Dale said,
right.
bringing people in to help you has so it's just been I'm literally since the beginning of the year that the lights just kind of been turned on. It's like, oh wow, I don't have to do this by myself. It's actually
Right,
better if I don't do it by myself.
right,
So no, but yes, for 20 something years I wasted a lot of not wasted because I did learn a lot,
right,
but I wasted a lot of time on trying to learn and not do. I should
right,
have had a happy mix, happy medium of learning and doing,
right,
but I got hung up on the learning and not the doing.
right. And you think that I mean, I talked to a couple of people, and they do that. They feel like that either they don't know where to start. They think they have to have like for instance, when I started this show, you know, um, some of the people I talked to, they're like, you want to make sure you have the best cameras, you want to have the best equipment,
Mhm.
you know, and before you go do the show. And my logic was because I know how I am. If I wait till I have the perfect equipment and the perfect, then it wouldn't happen for me. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
I'm like, hey, look, grab my phone. We went to a park
yeah,
bench. You know what I mean? And
yeah.
I said, let's just do the first show. Let's sit down, let's do it. It may not be, professional or whatever, you know what I mean? But the whole point was that is I knew me, and if I didn't just jump in and start, it would have taken a
Yeah.
while. You know what I mean? And so
Oh,
you felt like this.
yeah.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
you would have been like me 20 years into it before you actually
right,
get started.
right. So and that's kind of what I try to convey to my audience too. People who are looking for their passion and their purpose. Um, they don't know where to start. Most of the time, whatever your passion, your purpose is, you're already doing it. You kind of have an idea. You're already doing it. You just need to know. You just need that starting point. And that's why I tell them, just go do it. Go do it. It may
Right.
not be perfect the first time, and um, it may not look professional, but as you keep doing it, um, then you can get better at it. But you got to give yourself
Yeah.
that time to do that. And it kind of sounds like that's kind of where you were coming from. You're looking to perfect it first before doing it. But
Right.
yeah, so I'm glad you did it. And you've been doing a couple of you've had a couple of projects already that you've been working on,
Yes,
right?
we actually a couple weeks ago we wrapped 6 months part two, which was a part one to a little. It was just a little independent film that I did in the loft of my old house. It
Right.
was like I call it my daily short, and the
Mhm.
the story was so strong with it, and I got a lot of good feedback. It's like I want to do a part two to this, but I actually want to put some production behind it, a team behind it.
Right.
But we just wrapped that a couple weeks ago. I've helped on some other sets. Like I would take little, even somebody would reach out to me and say, "Hey, can you help me with lighting?"
Right.
Sure, because guess what? It gets me on another set to see how other people do it, to get
Right.
angles and to learn that. So I was taking those little PA jobs just to help out. I've been on a couple sets. This
Right.
Saturday and Sunday, I'm actually filming my next short, which is the Obsession short, and I've got a great cast on that. Really looking forward to that. So yeah, I mean, then after that, I'm actually in the process of doing my crowdfunding for my first feature, which is a movie called The X's, and that's going to be my actual first feature film.
Okay. And so let me ask you, like when you first decided to actually start, filming, and start producing, how did that kind of transpire?
Well, so a little story on me on my personal level. So I just recently had a surgery. I ended up come to find out back to last year. I've realized that I had prostate cancer,
Uh,
and at 40 at that time, 44 years old, that was really young.
right.
And in that, my urologist recommended me to have my prostate removed. So I just 7 weeks ago now, I had my prostate removed. When you get the news you have cancer, I mean, it wasn't really for me. I didn't feel like I had it, but I knew I had it. But the word cancer just really rings a bell in your ear and kind of makes you really wake up and realize life is precious, and life is short. So it's like I need to stop sitting on my dreams and not doing it, and to stop procrastinating. I mean, I'm 45 right now. I'm 45, and I'm still relatively young, but I'm not 25 anymore either. So that's why that kind of pushed me to that next level. It's like, all right, let's get this going. I have no excuses now. I've got plenty of time down here because, like I said, I've got my other company running back in Kentucky that I'm still part of, but I'm not I'm not 10, 15 hours a day with it. So I have a lot of free time. So it's like, I don't have an excuse now, but that kind of really helped push me over that edge of let's take the leap and let's do it, you know? So that's what really kind of pushed me recently over the last several months.
Right. And,
Right.
and you've been able to get your first project out, and finish that. I mean, what was that like for you to be able to say, hey, I've done it. I've actually got my first, production done. What was that like for you?
Oh, it was amazing because, like I said, we haven't launched, or like I think it's mostly edited. So here in the next week or so, we're going to launch it actually.
Right.
Uh, but it was amazing. I mean, just to be able to sit there and see your story finally come to life,
Right.
to make it real, and then not just to make it real for you, but it becomes real for everybody else involved.
Right.
That was amazing to me. I see the thing about me that people will learn is I'm far from selfish. Like I'm very giving with everything. So I want everybody around me. I've always said, even with my roofing, with any other business I've ever done, I
Right.
don't want to be the only successful one there. I want everybody around me to be successful. That's why I like building a team. So to be able to see it, people get excited about your project and your upcoming projects, and want to be a part of that and want to be a part of that growth is an amazing feeling to me. So yeah, so with seeing my first project, even just the edits that we've done, I did post a little trailer a couple weeks ago on it, or about a week ago on it, and just to see it on an actual screen, it's kind of surreal. It really is surreal to me. It's like, wow, okay. And to know that I've got more projects, and each project's going to get better and better naturally, because every set you're on, every time you turn the camera on, you're learning. Um, so it's very surreal to finally see something on screen, and not just in your head or not just on paper.
Right.
Right.
And I was thinking too, you know, the people that you work with, on the, because I know some of the actors and the
Mhm.
actresses, to have some of those people come in and be a part of what you're doing. I can imagine how excited you were to be able to say, hey,
Right. Yeah.
yeah, it's one thing when you're realizing your dream, but I think it's um, when you see people come together and help you. They
Yeah.
want to bring their talents together and help you develop that. I mean,
Yeah,
um,
they're buying into your dream.
right,
That's awesome. I was like to get when, especially not when they're just doing, especially when they're not just going through the motions like it's a job, but when they actually get
right,
excited about it.
right,
That's when they're really buying into that dream. That's an amazing feeling.
right. And I could tell too because every time you guys like I said, there's a um, I want to say a tight knit community, but you got a community of
Right.
actors
Yeah.
and that you guys work with, and every time that one of the producers have a film coming up, I see everybody posting about it.
Right.
Everybody's
Yeah.
on Facebook because they're all excited to be a part of it. They're excited to get to have a role in it, and
Hmm.
and then the other thing too is that they because they're friends with the other actors, they get to you know share on their friends as well is going to be
Yeah.
in the show too. So I think that's really cool, and I'm really glad I came across that group because there's so many talented people in that.
Oh yeah. Yes. And like I said, it's a community here. I mean, everybody
Right,
supports everybody. I mean, um, and then that's the way it should be because we don't get to a certain level by ourselves as we
right,
were talking earlier. It's a team thing, so it's nice to have that support there. It's nice to be able to go on a set and just pick people's brains. and
right,
and I've been in a couple sets to where the second that they say cut and everything's clear, I'm over there talking to the lighting guy. I'm over there talking to
right,
the guy doing sound, and just
right,
picking their brain. Everybody's so open to saying, okay, this is how I do it, and not only this is how I do it, this is why I do it this way. It's awesome to get that education when you're on set and actually talking to people that know that's been doing this for 10. I talked to Robert. I forgot Robert's last name, but he was a sound guy. He's been doing this for I think 12 years now. I was on a set with him, and just to be able to pick his brain about sound, and he was letting me take pictures of the equipment. That way, I knew what he used, how he used it. I mean, every time the set was down that we weren't shooting, I was talking to somebody on set, just picking their brain. And the fact that everybody's so cool and so supportive that they're not like, well, I'm not going to tell you this, because at the end of the day, we're all in this together. To me, there's not. I don't look as another movie maker, another producer competition. I really don't, because no two stories will ever be the same. You could give me a synopsis to write about, and you can give three other people synopsis to write about, and you're not going to come up with the same story. You're going to come up with different variations of the story. So, why would I not want to share my knowledge with somebody and vice versa? Because it's all core knowledge that we're learning. Just the stories are different. So, I love that support in the local community that everybody's here to help. We're at the end of the day, we want our movies on Netflix. We want our movies on Hulu. That's what we want. So what does it hurt to help, or what does it hurt to help each other get there?
right.
Right.
And I just interviewed Pooja Mahirinda,
Mhm.
and
Yeah, I watched that a little earlier, actually. Yes.
yeah, and that's one of the things that she said too is that she and I think that most actors and people involved in film probably feel this way is that she said that when she's on a set, she wants every part of that set to be, that film to be successful. She wants the
Mhm.
director to
Yeah.
be successful. She wants the other actors to be successful, and even if it means that she doesn't even get that role, and somebody has to come in and somebody else gets that role from instead of her. She wants what's best for that movie, and I think that's kind of like the group that you guys have is that's
Yeah.
their logic is that everybody is that's why they share that knowledge. It's because I think they're all wanting to see this thing be successful.
Right. Right. And it's good for the local community as well, for the local
Right,
film community. So anybody that does anything that puts anybody on the map in this area, it's
right,
great for this community as a whole. So, if I make a movie that does very well, it's not just great for me and the team that's part of it. It's
right,
great for the area. It's great for the market here.
right,
So that's why I'm always pulling for anybody if somebody says that, hey, Hulu's buying my film,
right.
great. I'm happy for you.
And it seems like that you know that whole industry over there is, it seems to be growing because of
Mhm.
these movies that's coming out from it. I'm excited to see some of the movies that you guys got, that you guys are producing.
Mhm.
Seeing some of the clips with Bobby Washington. I have him coming on tomorrow
Yep. Yeah.
doing the Seven Roses.
Oh, Seven Roses, yes. I've actually helped him on a time or two, and this phenomenal. That's going to be a phenomenal movie. I'm excited to see the end result of that movie.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. I'm looking at there's so many of them that you guys are kind of cranking out. I'm excited to see them. I want to.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
I'm like, geez,
Well,
just show
actually,
me where they're at. So I can go watch them. Yeah.
well,
So,
it's funny. Oh, go ahead. Sorry, I'm sorry.
oh no, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, like Obsession, the one I'm filming this weekend.
Right.
It started off as just only being a short. Well, the story is such a rich story
Uh-huh.
that I'm using it as a proof of concept to make a feature out of it as well.
Oh wow.
So that's exciting for me as too, because it's a great story, and everybody that's been involved has read the script. They
Right.
love it. They're like, oh my gosh, and a lot of quite a few people have said, I want more. you know, even
Right.
before I filmed it. That's awesome. So
All right. Cool. So let me ask you this: as a director, is there a particular movie that that you like a big I would say big, but it's an ideal that you have for a big movie that you would really like to work on.
well, a couple guys that are inspirations to me. Zach Braff, I love the way Zach Braff writes. Zach, if anybody knows Zach Braff, I would if I said my writing was anything like anybody's in Hollywood, if you will, is Zach Braff's. He's very character driven, very story driven. I'm not a special effects guy. I'm all about my character development and my deep stories that make people think and things like that. So I love him. Of course, any independent filmmaker loves Kevin Smith. I would love, love, love to work with Kevin Smith one day. That is the I mean, you want to talk about the independent success story of all time. I mean, he started off with Clerks, $10,000 budget. Now look where he's at, you know. And of course, any independent filmmaker loves Tarantino. That's probably my big three: Zach Braff, Kevin Smith, and Quentin Tarantino. I feel like that I've got a little bit of all three of them in my writing. I mean, I'm not saying I'm those guys by any means, but I feel like the way I write has a little bit of sprinkled in my storylines of all three of those guys, if that makes sense. So, um, but yeah, those three guys, I would love to work with any of those guys. Like I
Right.
would
Right.
dedicate my time for free just to be able to be
Oh,
on the set with
oh,
these guys.
right.
You know,
So those are your big three influences.
absolutely 100% yes.
Yeah. Cool. So let me ask you, through I know you've been doing it kind of for a short time, but over the years, what kind of lessons have you learned, or what's some of the biggest takeaways that you learned that you would tell somebody who's just starting?
Somebody just starting, one piece of advice I would tell somebody, and I've kind of prefaced this along the way:
Mhm.
take any gig to start off with, help as PA, help as lighting, help as anything just to be able to get on a set. Um, like I said, I don't care if it's just holding a mic, holding or setting up lights. It doesn't matter. It's not a big role. I get that, but that's one thing right now that I would recommend to anybody who's trying to start out in this. Take the small jobs too. Don't try to be a huge producer from the gate or out the gate. I mean, if you can, great. Don't get me wrong. I say take that, but go volunteer your time on a set to, like I said, help set up lighting, help do anything you can, just to be able to get on set to get different people's perspectives, to see how they do things, to see how lighting's ran, because each set's going to be different. But if you can take a little piece of every set with you mentally, it's really amazing how you can kind of piece it all together and make it your own. But you're not sitting there having to watch hours and hours upon hours of YouTube videos. You're actually doing real life experience. So that's one of my biggest pieces of advice. Don't try to come out and be the next Ron Howard to start, which I hope for anybody, if they can out the gate, if you could have a success story like Matt Damon and Ben Affleck on their first film of Good Will Hunting, I'm pulling for you. But don't only put your goals on or your sights on that. Actually, go help on sets. I mean, there's casting calls all the time. Hey, I need a PA, even if it's non-paid. A lot of them are going to be non-paid, but you're getting paid in education. I mean, you're actually that is your paid. For me, if you're unexperienced in it, is getting your education, learning lighting. I mean, lighting is one of the biggest things to any movie set, and we've all seen movie sets or movies that wow, that lighting could have been so much better. So take those small jobs, volunteer. If you see a PA, you see a lighting guy, a grip guy, whatever. Hey, I want that just to be able to get on somebody else's set to learn.
Right.
Right.
And, and that's great advice too, because um, it's one thing seeing it on YouTube, but when you're actually on set,
Yes.
I think that it helps you absorb, that learning process a lot better because you're actually doing instead of just just watching. It's a
Right.
hands-on training.
100%. Yes.
Right.
And there's so many independent filmmakers out there now looking for guys to help for free
Right.
that you will never have a problem finding someone that's going to be willing to let you come on set and help them out.
Right. And the other part to that too is not only are you absorbing that information, but being on set, you're also networking and making those connections.
100%. Yes. Yes. Like I'll be honest with you, I have my business cards on me at all time.
Right.
And if I'm in good with the I'm not I'm not there poaching by any means, but
Right.
usually the people I'm helping on set with, I'm in good with them, so they
Right.
know that we're probably going to share this a lot of the same actors. So guess
Right.
what? I'm handing my card. Hey, check out my Facebook page or whatever, or my website or whatever. I'll
Right.
be casting soon. Especially if you see that talent. That's another good advantage to being on other movie sets. You can see the talent in action. You can see them behind the scenes, not just the finished product. So you see how they'll take cuts and criticism and direction. So again, it's all amazing how much of an education there is when you're on somebody else's set.
Right. And you brought up another good point too. I talked to a lot of actors, and you know, I kind of get like actors have some mixed feelings. So some actors they want to go for a role and they don't get it, and they get discouraged because it's a role they really wanted. And then
Hmm.
you have actors who understand that sometimes it's not their acting ability; it's just that they didn't fit the director's perspective of what that character that character is or who they are. You know what I mean?
Right.
So from your point of view, because you're the one who has to do the auditions. Um, what would you say to to an actor who is like dead, they have their heart set on a role, and they're just not that right fit. So how do you kind of break that to them? You know what I mean? And let them.
Well, you got to kind of have that professionalism too. You can't let
Right.
emotion get in the way. Like
Right.
right now, I put a casting call out for my feature, The X's, and
Right.
I'm getting some great submissions to my emails. Some people that's like, wow, they're really good. But as I'm watching them, I've because most everybody that writes, as
Right.
you're writing that character, you see that character in your head. You know
Exactly.
what that character looks like. You know how tall they are. You know what their hair looks like. And of course, there are going to be some variations because there's going to be one actor every once in a while. It's like, oh my gosh, this person is perfect for this role.
Right.
But on average, if it doesn't fit that mold, you know, you're forcing it at that point, you
Right.
know. But as far as like, telling people, I'll be honest with you, I haven't had a lot of experience with that. I'm actually going to be facing that here soon with the X's because, like I said, I've got a bunch of submission off that casting call. So
Right.
I've got to narrow them down. But when it comes to time, I'm like, hey guys, man, thank you. You're an amazing actress. Like, I've got
Right.
a bunch of female. You're an amazing actress, and I really do want to work with you.
Right.
Um, but for this particular role you submitted for, it doesn't fit.
Right.
But then I would offset that by saying, but you know what? There is a role, in the same movie that might work better for you. Or
Right.
if that's not the case, say, hey, but I've got an upcoming project that I want to keep your information on file for that I think might be better for you.
Right.
You know, let them know that you're not just gonna. I'm not gonna. I don't want them to think I'm just gonna forget about them because they don't fit that particular role.
Right. And that's the thing too is, when we talk to, the different people, um, we try to convey too that it's nothing personal.
Right.
It's nothing
No.
personal at all. I mean, it's just that, as a filmmaker, like you said, as you're, especially as when you're writing your own movies,
Hmm.
you already envision what that character looks like. Yeah,
Right. Right.
and like like you're saying, you already had got the height, everything to go
Yes.
through that. So that's one of the things that, I try to encourage my audience who are trying to get into acting, is if you get turned down for a role, don't let that discourage you, because
Yeah.
especially like with the community you guys are in, if they find that's like that, eventually they're going to land a role. They'll land a
Yeah.
they'll land a spot, because there's quite a few there are directors that are putting a lot of movies. You know,
Hmm.
so yeah, that's my
Well, and
big.
that's the thing inside that community. If let's say actress A doesn't fit this role, if we're
Right,
in this community to where it's like, okay, if so and so has, if Bobby has a role, for instance, needs to be filled, hey,
right,
I just ran across, she's great. She's probably going to be a good fit for this role, so I could actually refer her to Bobby at
right,
that point. Yeah, just because it may end with me as far as that particular movie, she may not be a
right,
fit for, but inside that community, she gets in this. Then next thing you know, she's in this community, so she knows what's going on as well. So yeah, again, it falls back into that tight knit community here.
right. And um, with all the films, and the Titan. That's one of the things too. I was going to say that, that Tony Taylor, he's another actor I talked to. He said the same thing. Is that, you, even if you get turned down for a role, be professional about it.
Yeah,
Don't be. I don't say don't be a jerk, but don't let it affect you in such a negative way, because, like, your community, everybody knows everybody, and if
yeah,
handle that situation in a negative way, not only does it affect you on that, for that role, but it can affect you for any role.
moving
Because
forward, exactly, exactly.
you know in the future, because like you and Bobby are friends, and if Bobby's going to bring that person on, you might say, I might,
Right, right.
what I mean, I might not bring that
Yep.
person in just because of that, the attitude or whatever. So yeah, you want to be, when you get a role, be gracious for the role, and if you get turned down, still be gracious for the,
Right.
because there's like, it'll present itself when it's time,
Oh,
especially,
absolutely. Yes.
yeah. So awesome. So, now, um, I know you're working on Obsession. You had some other films that you were, uh, working on as well. Do you?
Yes, I've actually the my first feature is called The X's. It's almost a bronze, silver medal, and gold medal of my actual bio. It's almost like a dramedy biopic of my exes.
Okay.
Um, and Michelle being the gold medalist of them all. Trust me. Just a little insight on it. The last time I physically laid my eyes on her
Right.
was in New York, and she was being taken away on a stretcher in a straitjacket.
Oh wow.
So, yeah, and one of the last things she told me was, "If you love me, you'll kill me." So, yeah, that's ever since then. Now, so speaking of Michelle, she's the one. Remember, I told you earlier on, I dated a girl that was into writing films. She was the one that was into writing films, and she's the one that got me into wanting to write films. And but yeah, she some of her last words to me was, "If you love me, you'll kill me." And she was actually taken away in a straitjacket on a stretcher last time I saw her. So I've always said I wanted to use her in a movie, and that's what I'm doing.
Wow.
So yeah,
Okay. And so, so you have, there was three of them. So there was, 6 months.
part two. Yeah, there's 6 months. Part
Yeah.
two. This weekend is going to be Obsession. Then following that, I'm shooting towards late October to mid September, probably for the X's. After that,
Okay.
I've got another film I'm finishing up writing on now called Inheritance, and then I've got a couple more in the can after that.
If somebody wants to, see the films, do you have where they're going to be released yet, or is that still something that you guys are working on?
Still kind of working on that. With 6 months being my true first production, I'm still kind of working on that.
Right.
Like I said, I've got Caitlin, or she goes by Kat,
Right.
really doing a lot of behind the scenes work for me on that stuff. That's
Okay.
she's got a lot of influence in that. So naturally, I'm going to have it on my YouTube channel, my social, all my socials.
Right.
But as far as true releases, I'm still working on the details on that.
Okay. Cool. And then if somebody wanted to, follow you, and how would they follow that?
Generally on all my social medias and YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram, they're all at Creative Tower Media.
Creative Type. Okay.
Um, yeah, Creative Tower Media. And I've got creativetower.us as my website as well.
Okay.
Um, so yeah, I kind of kept it simple on all the socials and YouTube at Creative Tower Media. That way, I didn't have Creative Tower Media, then Creative Tower Media 1A. I mean, just it's
Right.
all Creative Tower Media all across the board. Just to keep it simple. So
Cool. And I'll post that at the bottom of the interviews
great. Okay.
following. The other thing too that I'd recommend is they for them to find you guys on IMDb and Facebook.
Yes. Yes.
'Cause I know
Absolutely.
that.
Yes.
So let me ask you. I noticed that the IMDb that it goes by some. There's some kind of rating.
It's a
Um,
star. It's called a star rate. It's called a star rating, and
right.
it's basically based on your activity.
Okay.
Even now going back to what we were talking about, going on people's sets to help them.
Right.
A lot of people are like, hey, if you show up and help me with lights, I'll give you an IMDb credit. Okay,
Okay.
so that way you're still linked to that film. Well, the more links you have to a film, the higher your rating goes.
Okay. Yeah. I was trying to figure out because I see a lot of people posting on there, and they try to keep that rating, that rating high.
Mhm.
I guess it goes
Yeah.
in from the green to the red, or you know,
Right. Yeah, it starts off like prime example. About a month and a half ago, I started off at 900 and some odd thousand. I think I'm up to 216,000 now,
right.
which is a pretty good size jump for somebody new. But no, that's basically what that is. It's anytime you're linked to a film, when they go through, there's a movie page that the producer does, and he goes through and puts all the rows, all the everybody on production, everybody on the acting. So you go through and actually assign who is helping with what, and then once you publish that, it goes to other IMDb pages, and that helps their rating.
I was kind of trying to figure out how that worked too. So now it looks like that almost every actor is on that. Like you could go
Oh
to
yes, oh yeah.
IMDb and find everybody on there.
It is because it's the easiest way to find them, have them actually display all of their work, all their
Right.
headshots, all their films, all their filmography, all their credits. It's actually great for actors because on one page you have all of that listed.
Right.
Um, as opposed to if you're going to their social media, you have to go back sometimes to look at certain videos, or you go to their channel and their YouTube and scroll through videos as to where on IMDb everything's right there on their page. You
Right.
know.
So
Right.
what I
Okay.
was saying with the IMDb, for the anybody trying to get involved, I highly recommend using that site. And do you
Right.
guys? Another thing I think with that site is you can also find a community near you of
Right.
actors and stuff, that you can get involved in. So, well, cool. I want to thank you for being on the show. I want to see these movies once they're fully up and running, and
Oh
so
yeah.
we'll definitely be following you. And then also once they're released, we'll bring you back on and we'll talk about some of the movies and get an update of where you're at, what you're doing.
Absolutely, man. I'd love. I'd be honored.
It was a pleasure to get to know you,
You too, man.
and
You
see
too.
what you're working with.
Yeah, we'll definitely be in contact. Yes.
Yeah, that definitely. We'll just you know uh, keep following you and seeing these great movies you guys are putting out. So I'm looking forward to it.
Awesome. All right. Well, sounds good,
All
buddy.
right, cool. Watching and like I said, we're going to put the links for Jason Jones and at the bottom, and I encourage you to go follow him. Find him on Facebook, find him on his Instagram and his YouTube, and look out for all the great things that he's got coming up. So Definitely check that out. And until next time, remember, you're uniquely designed with a purpose, and always keep moving forward. Peace.
Thank you.
Thank you.